world. My name is Caitlin and I am a knitter and crocheter, and this is my podcast. This is episode 2. If you missed the first one, make sure you go back and watch it because you'll see some things that kind of reappear in this episode. But if not, just sit back and relax and enjoy the show. This is actually the third time I'm recording this tonight. It's getting a little bit late. I have work tomorrow, but I'm determined because it took me an hour to get all of my stuff together and to write my notes and figure out what I wanted to talk about. That's mainly the reason that I didn't film this sooner. But anyway, here I am. My iPhone storage is ready to go, and so am I. So first I want to talk about my finished objects. So I finally finished my violet top. This was knit out of the Shibui twig linen blend yarn with cotton and flax. It's got a little lace detail around the bottom. It is a crop top. The way it fits, I noticed, is a little bit short in the front and a little longer in the back because of the shape human that I am. And I absolutely love it. I had to knit it twice, unfortunately. For unfortunate reasons, I had to knit this twice. So I was going along great guns as I normally do, and I realized I had made a measurement error. It says at one point to keep knitting until the body measures 7 inches. Well, I mean, that might make sense to some people, but I didn't know what body it was referring to because it's a top down. You start with a little bit of, I think I started with the back of the yoke, and then you do the shoulders up and over, and then you end up going, adding on in the middle, connecting them. Anyway, I didn't know how to measure the body, and I measured the body from the top of the neck down. Well, if I had measured that on my actual body, I would realize that 7 inches wasn't nearly long enough for a top. So it was cutting off like right here, and I had already done the lace panel, which is like a lot of work. So I ripped it back, ripped all the lace out, and then painstakingly put every single stitch back onto my needles. And I was like, all right, I got this now. I know I just need to keep knitting for like 3 or 4 more inches, and then I'm good, because I think what she meant was to measure from the underarm down, and that's the body. Like, this is the yoke and this is the body. But you live and you learn, right? So I knit it. I picked up all those stitches back and I was ready to go, and then I was like, wait a minute. I happened to be visiting my parents at the that weekend, and I was like, Mom, is this gauge right? Like, this fabric just doesn't look right. And I was getting gauge. I actually did measure, like, at some point. I measured what I was knitting, and it was working out, give or take. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it wasn't quite, but that doesn't matter anymore. But anyway, so I frogged the whole thing. I took the whole thing out, and I started over, and I guess I just don't have that much experience knitting this style of top. Like, most of the tops I've made, actually, come to think of it, were all raglan. And in raglan, I guess I didn't run into the same construction problems. But so I just remembered this now, actually, as I was making the violet for the second time with the right gauge, and I really liked it. I went down like 2 needle sizes. Oh, wait, proof. I have proof here somewhere that I did a gauge. You should believe me, but you can't believe everything you hear on the internet, right? I was so proud of myself, I saved that gauge to show you. Anyway, I was knitting along this second time through, doing what I thought was a really good job, and I realized I had made my shoulder, which is supposed to be picked up along the back of the yoke. I'll show you. I never had to do this before, but I've done it now 3 times. Can you see it? Maybe you can't see it. That's the shoulder seam, I think. I was really proud of it. I thought I did a pretty good job on it. But I had the shoulder coming from my armpit. It's finished. I think it looks beautiful. I wore it to work one day with something under it. I wore it today on my day off. Just easy breezy. And you know what? It's nice and cool. It was 95 degrees today and humid, and I felt fine. And it wicks away the moisture, so it's all good. The next thing that I finished this, I'll say month, because it's been about 3 weeks since I filmed, was a friend. This is Victor the Frog from the Animal Friends of Pica Pau. That is a crochet amigurumi pattern book that I have that I absolutely love, and I highly recommend it. I'll show it to you in a minute. So Victor is made out of scrap yarn, and I use a very small hook when I do these things. This is a 2.25 millimeter. I use a small hook so that I don't have to pull the stitches really tight, because when I first started, you could always see my stuffing through there. Now you can't really see the stuffing too much. I think he came out really good. For the most part, he came out without any problems. You start with the little eye mounds using a magic ring. There's not too many advanced techniques in this. So you make one, then you cut the yarn, then you make the other, and then you do like a little chain, and then you go around the chain, I think. I won't give too much away again, but like, he's top down, and he'll be embarrassed that I'm showing you this, but he's wearing little undies under there, and I think they're so cute. This I had a little bit of trouble with. I don't know if there's a trick to reading color charts for crocheted amigurumi, because I've read charts for knitting, like for different lace patterns, like the violet. That was a little chart that I had to read. Anyway, I could not get my polka dots to end. Like, there was a jog in the pattern, and I could not for the life of me figure out what I was doing wrong. But I figured it's his underwear, so I just carried on, and here he is. Couple of things, if you're ever gonna make him, I would put the shorts on him before you put his flippers on. His flippers are sewn on, you can't take them off, and I had quite a time of trying to get the shorts up over that. The other thing is, you might notice, maybe not because I've got his life preserver on here, but his one arm is a different yarn because I ran out of yarn. I'm not the best at estimating how much yarn a project's gonna take, or how much yarn I have for that matter, even though I got that cool scale. I gotta learn how to, you know, use it. So anyway, that's Victor the Frog. Then I made him another friend, and this is what I do when the going gets tough in my other knitting projects. And this is Pedro the Pig. And Pedro has a little backstory with him. All of the characters come with a backstory, and his is that he was afraid of everything. He was afraid of meeting new pigs. He was afraid of trying new foods. He was afraid of swimming. And then he decided to face his fears, and he became a lifeguard. So Pedro is crocheted out of the Just yarn from the Dollar Tree. So he's all using the same like worsted weight yarn, which is why he came out a little bigger than Victor. But as you can see, they both have the same swim trunks, so they're on the same swim team. And I'm going to show you the book because you might be interested. This is the Pica Pau, Animal Friends of Pica Pau, and you get 20 colorful amigurumi characters. They're so fun. They're all kind of colorful and adorable. I have made more than just these two. This is Cayman, like Renee the Cayman. I made him. I think I sold him. And I think I showed you last week that I made this wolf, but he was in a different colors. And I also made a sloth, which I think is from here. Nope, no sloth. There's a second book that she published, so I also bought that one. So I have two of her books, and I love all of her patterns. So you'll probably see more of those throughout the podcast episodes. All right, we've gotten farther now than we had the other two times that I was recording because I deleted a lot of stuff from my phone. So moving on, those were all of the things that I was able to complete, but that's okay. It's not a contest. It's just my hobby that I do to enjoy life a little bit more. So I have several things that I'm working on. The first that I'd like to share is the look at my holes. Oh, this might be a fail. So I started off, I think if you watched the last episode, so in the last episode I showed you I made a ripple bralette by Jessie Made Designs, and I thought it would be really cute to make a look at my holes to wear over top of it, because this thing is kind of skimpy. I thought I have plenty of this yarn left over. I'm gonna make my look at my holes out of this. And it calls for like fingering to DK or sport or something. Or something, that's the problem. So anyway, I started off, I figured, you know what, I learned my lesson with the violet. I'm gonna do a swatch from the very beginning. So I did, and this is my swatch. And this is something I really appreciated about this pattern, by the way. In the pattern, it says like, start by making this swatch, and it tells you the steps of like exactly how to make your swatch. And I really appreciate that, because I usually read through a pattern and I'm like, cast on. But this says cast on this many stitches for your swatch. And I thought, well, that's a good way to make sure people are actually swatching and not getting frustrated with your pattern. So anyway, I did this swatch, I measured it. You're supposed to get 3.5 holes per 4 inches. I blocked my swatch too. This is, and I think I was pretty much right on. So I'm going along as I do. And one day before work, I'm like, you know what? I'm down to like this much yarn. I'm not gonna have enough to do the sleeves, because then you have to do, it's one of those, you start at the neckline and you do the yoke, and then you put the sleeve stitches on waist yarn, and then you do the body, and then you come back and fill in the rest of the stuff. So I was like, I'm not gonna have enough yarn. I think I had more than that. I might have had like this. Anyway, so I was like, all right, let's not panic. At work, I decided to try it on. And I was just like, by that point, I kind of knew. I was like, this is not going to work. So I pulled it all off the needles. And I tried it on. And I'll put up a picture. The problem was it just wasn't the right yarn for this project. And I realized that only by trying it on and feeling the weight of it and kind of the clinginess, it just didn't feel like a look at my holes. It felt like a fall poncho or something. So I was like, you know what? I ripped it out violently during my 15-minute break. And then I said, all right, I'm gonna go to sock yarn. So I had this leftover sock yarn that I think was like fall leaf something or other sock yarn by someone. I am so bad at keeping yarn labels. I don't know why I don't keep the yarn labels, so I can't tell you more about this yarn, unfortunately. And now it's coming back to bite me because I ran out of yarn. So this is my look at my holes. I realize this is super busy, but my thought was I'll wear something solid like a bright orange or black or brown or something under it. And as I started doing the finishing, I actually really liked the way it was coming out. So this little ribbing at the bottom, you switch to smaller needles and do a little ribbing at the bottom. I have a little ribbing at the sleeve here. So it was actually coming out okay. Like, once again, it's pretty short. And this obviously, well, I don't know if it's obvious, but this, I haven't blocked it yet. But I got to the second sleeve and I realized I didn't have enough yarn. I have this much yarn left, and that's like, so I've got these stitches on hold, and I still haven't even done the neckline. So it's supposed to have the same inch of 1x1 rib around the waist, around the sleeves, and then around the neckline. And I really think that kind of makes it like it needs to have that. So I don't want to frog this again. I will if I have to. I can just do like a brown. Like nobody's gonna, well, you'll all know, but nobody's gonna care, right? If I just did like a solid brown around the neckline. Keep the same 1x1 rib, just like sock yarn. So I went in my stash, and of course I don't have any of that. Then I thought, you know, well, I had added an extra 2 repeats to make some more length to it. I don't really think I would compromise on the length because it's already pretty short. Like, I'm so curious right now, holding it up and stuff, that I'm gonna try. Let's see. Oh, see, this would be cool. This would be cool. It's very 70s, I feel. I like this. And once I block it, that would be cute. It's never gonna happen now because I ran out of yarn. So I'm stuck on this one. I don't know what to do. Do I frog it? Do I finish it? I really want to wear it though. I think it's cute, and I think I would use it as like a layering with something under it. Obviously something under it. But anyway, that's where I'm at with that. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll go shopping in my mom's stash. I have another disaster story. So the sock, I'm working on the second sock, right, of a basic sock recipe, and I hadn't seen it in a while, and I was starting to think, you know, where did that end up? I should work on that. Like, is it in my car? Did I bring it to the office and forget it there? Is it in my closet? Well, I found it after I had put it through the wash in the project bag on the needles. So amazingly, I did not lose a single stitch. I think because of this fabulous sock needle keeper that I've been using. I realized I've been using this since my very first pair of socks, which I knit in college. I remember I was working at the McGill bookstore, and I was out on the curb knitting during my breaks, and I remember this. But anyway, it's all warped and messed up now. Like, I could probably still use it, but this is the only thing that took damage during that whole escapade in the wash. Like, the yarn ball stayed pretty intact. Thank you to the Perfect Blends little project bags for saving my project. What's that? Oh yeah, and then the sock, like, it's totally fine. So I'm at the exact same place as I was before. So I guess that's a good thing, because like other stuff I'm working on, I'm going backwards. So I still have that to come back to. Oh, and Mom gave me a new kind of keeper. Della Q. I haven't tried it out yet, but I think you put it in here and snap it on either side of the project. I don't know if you can see that. There's like little snaps. So there, now I've got a new little project thingy for my socks. Hopefully that's as durable as the cardboard tube. Anyway, that's my other whip. Oh, I have one whip that's not going badly. So this is my, I think in the last episode I was telling you I wanted to do something with my Cowgirl Blue Mohair Kid Silk blend. It's Happy Days colorway. I was really excited about it, and I still am. I'm really excited about it. So I had said I'm gonna make a Pierre Day, which means it's a type of butterfly, and it's this like flowy, mohairy capelet. I'll put up a picture so you can see. And I was all excited about it, and it didn't have very many projects on it, which, you know what, neither did the Violet when I started. It only had like 8 projects on it. So like, that's fine. So I bought the pattern. I could not make heads nor tails of this pattern. And I spent about 15 minutes just reading through it, seeing if maybe I was missing something. And I couldn't. It was the kind of pattern that expects for you to just be able to establish this pattern. I don't know exactly how to explain it other than I had a lot of difficulty with it. I think maybe some more experienced knitters would not have so much of a problem, but I asked my mom and she was kind of at a loss for it too, and she knows like everything. So anyway, I was like, I'm not gonna even waste trying to cast on for this thing. I know it's not gonna work. So I went to the Perfect Blend in Saugerties, New York, and I picked out some beautiful pink yarn. This is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk Raspberry Pink. So I got 3 skeins of it. One of them's a partial skein because it's my work in progress. So I decided to do the Elton pullover. So I have that started, and I started with the back and then did the, you know, it's got some stripes. It's a striped pullover, top down sweater, long sleeve, I believe, or like 3/4 maybe. So this is the back, this is the back, and this is the front. So it's not very much of a sweater yet, but after working with the twig yarn, this feels so soft. Like the silk is nice, but then the mohair has just got that fuzzy, like, oh, you're so soft. Like, so I'm really enjoying this. And I have to tell you something about short rows. So I am no expert in short rows, but they're used for the shaping on the back of the yoke and then on the front. And I did the back following exactly the tutorial of what it said to do for the short rows. So I think it linked to like, maybe it was a Purl Soho video on short rows, and I followed it exactly. And on the back, you can see my little short rows. Like, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I could definitely point them out while I was doing it, that it's like, oh, there's one, there's one, there's one. Like, that's the back, and like, I've got a lot of hair, so I'm not worried about what it looks like in the back, but like, do I really want to be able to see my short rows on the front of it? So I remembered that German short rows are more invisible. So Purl Soho had a video for the German short rows because I forgot how to do them. And it's super easy. And now I was afraid to like swap in a different kind of short row because I didn't. And it's not hard. So basically you just follow the recipe until you get to where it says how many stitches to do and then your short row. So if you're doing German short rows in the place of normal short rows, you just do as many as it says, then work one more stitch, then do your short row. So that's what I did on the front, and I hope you agree with me that the front the front looks a little bit more smooth. I don't think I had as obvious short rows in the front. So, I mean, really, I'm the only person I have to please with this project, and I'm pleased. So, I'm going to keep working on it. Hopefully, I'll have more to show and not less the next time. Also, I got these from Marion. They're so fun. These little needle thingies. They're like the things that you would have on your drawstring, you know, like maybe on a drawstring bag, maybe not on a sweatshirt, but I've been using them and they're keeping my stitches from sliding off the needles because I have trouble with things like that. She said you can also use them to kind of like push your work up. Like if you're working on something that you have to keep tugging to move, you can kind of slip it. I haven't done a project like that yet, but anyway. So that's a work in progress that I'm really happy about. So that's it for works in progress. While I was visiting Mary's shop, The Perfect Blend in Saugerties, New York, also got myself some things. So, got this beautiful tote bag. And I also, I don't know why, oh, because she had a sample that I tried on and fell in love with of a Zamensat 7 pattern. I got myself some more Knitting for Olive in, oh, this is a cotton merino blend, and I love the color, Terracotta Rose. This is Terracotta Rose, and I'll show you next to my raspberry pink, so it's quite different. So this terracotta rose, and with that, I'm going to be using the soft silk mohair, also by Knitting for Olive, in the plum rose. And this is, I think you hold them together on big needles, and that really sounded good to me because I'm really interested in making some like summer knits this season. But like this violet was on smaller, well, kind of smaller needles. Like I ended up doing it on like 3.5s. It seemed like it took forever. So she said I could do this on bigger needles. So I was like, sold! So I'm excited to cast on for that. I want to get a little more progress done on my Elton pullover before I do that. Oh, by the way, it's July 13th, 2023. So today I took myself to a local yarn shop in my area. I haven't really ventured out to a yarn shop in years and years. Like I've bought yarn, you know, and I always stop in to visit the Perfect Blend when I'm visiting my parents, but I very rarely, if ever, have walked into a yarn shop on my own, and I don't know why. Like can't explain it. I was like nervous to do it for some reason. But I thought, that's silly, Caitlin, you love yarn and you love people who love yarn. And so I went today to a place called Slip Stitch Avenue, and I got myself some things. I was really looking for another plant-based yarn that I could do for another summer top. So I loved the feel of this and the color too. I'm really into like a pink purpley, I don't know. This yarn is from, it's called Pop Cycle by Haiku. So I met the woman who owns the shop. She owns it and runs it all by herself. Her name is Vera, and she's super cool. And she's like, feel this yarn. So she puts the yarn in my hand and she's like, guess what it's made out of? It's made out of 50% bamboo, which I love, and 50% polyester from recycled bottles. Isn't that crazy? So I think that's why it's called Pop Cycle. So I have some ideas. I was actually going to go through some of my ideas and see if you have any opinions or can help point me in a direction. This yarn I just thought was so gorgeous, the color. It's sock yarn, and I've been watching a lot of Nitty Natty Love and Stitches podcast, and she's talking about Sock Week coming up. Hopefully I'm not wrong about that. I think it's coming up soon. And I don't really know what Sock Week entails. I think you just make socks together. So I was like, well, maybe I could get on board with that. And so I got this. It's KFI Collection. Indulgence Fingering, hand-painted extra fine merino superwash. Ibiza Sands. I thought the colors really looked like ocean, and that's what drew me to it. So I'm gonna make 2 short socks. I might do two toe up, two at a time toe up socks. So anyway, I have some socks to play with. So for this last section, what I thought we would do is go through some of my ideas for a summer top to knit, because there's several that I've been coming across on the Hot Right Now page on Ravelry, as well as seeing a bunch of really cool designs that people are talking about in their knitting podcasts on YouTube. And I've been doing a lot of watching knitting podcasts while I'm knitting. Yes, so the first idea I had was the Rick Rack Tee. It is by Yamagara Knits, and it just came out actually this month of this year, and it's a top-down tee. It's done in fingering yarn. Oh, it has a square neckline, which I thought was cool, and I thought it looked very delicate and feminine. The second pattern I was considering is the rocket tee, and I've already made one rocket, and I'll show it here. I made this actually it was 2 summers ago. These are the colors that I chose, and it fits me snug, and I mean I block it pretty well. I wear it a lot. I love it. And it's got this sparkle, which I always tend to like sparkle, but it fits a little bit tighter than I think I want. I think when I look at the pattern picture, I really like the positive ease, and I wonder if I should have just been like, I'm going up a size. Maybe I should have done a swatch. And I actually already have yarn that I might be wanting to do that in, which is these two colors that came from Mom. And wouldn't you know, I don't have the labels, so I couldn't tell you too much about them. But they seem very much just to be fingering, you know, fingering weight. I think it would be a nice color combination. And maybe for this one, instead of doing 8-row stripes, I could do like 2 or 4. Something a little bit, 2. Yeah, you could do 2. The third idea I had was the Moonset Tee by Ozetta Haley Smedley. What I liked about the Moonset Tee is it looks a little bit tailored to me. It has like a V neck, and it's got a little bit longer sleeve length, and it's just a very classic looking tee. The model is wearing it in white, so it just evokes to me like classic t-shirt. I mean, maybe classic is the trend this year, actually. Like, I'm seeing a lot of just very plain looking camisoles and tops and tees that are very classy, but also classic. The other thing I was looking at is the Soho top by Kadri. I really like the Soho top. Also looks like a very classic one. This one though, it's knit with 2 strands of fingering held together, which equals worsted weight. So it will be a little bit of a thicker fabric, which might be nice because not every day is 95 degrees and humid here in New Jersey. And I kind of like the boat neck and it being a little loose around the neckline. Actually, maybe that would be really nice with, wait. Yeah, I could hold 2 of these together. And it uses, there's my swatch. I told you I made a swatch for my violet, see? Anyway, so that's another option is the Soho top. I thought that was really pretty and classic. Okay, the next one I was interested in was the Joni by Natasha Hornby. There's something about it I really like. It's very structured looking to me. The fact that it's a short sleeve, but it's got that lace panel structure, like a rectangular point of interest right there in the front. Also, like the rest of it, it's not just stockinette. Like there's these pearl ridges to kind of gives it something I like. So that's the Joni top. Oh, this is so pretty. It's macaron. It must be macaron. Maceron by L'Atelier Le Casavant. Anyway, the front of it is kind of plain. It has a nice scoop neck, which is a different neckline again. I like that. But the real fun is in the back. It's kind of like a mullet, you know, business in the front, party in the back. The back of it is this beautiful, leafy looking lace with baubles. And finally, the last option that I am considering is called the Tip Top. And there's a free bow, so it's a free pattern and it has like a bow tie extension to it. It's a camisole, kind of a V. It looks like it's got a little bit of edging around the V as well as the arms, but I think what I really like is the detail where instead of the straps being connected on the shoulder, they come up and they tie. Anyway, those are the 7 patterns that I'm thinking about. Those are the 7 patterns that I'm thinking about right now while I'm filming this podcast. But in my favorites, the list just continuously grows as I'm watching these videos of everyone doing their top 10 whatever summer tops. And also, I frequent that Hot Right Now page on Ravelry just to see what people are, you know, what's trending, what people are looking at. It's been a lot of fun just to see what people are looking at and see if there's anything that I fancy. Folks, I need to get to bed. I don't even know if I'm making sense anymore. I really thank you for joining me today. Hopefully by the time this is all edited, it's worth your time. I really appreciate you watching, and drop a comment and let me know what you're working on or what you're excited to cast on for, because I really do get excited to see what other people are working on. So maybe if you want to tell me that in the comments, that would be great. And until next time, good luck. Don't throw your knitting in the washing machine before it's off the needles. And I will see you next time. Take care, folks.